Good morning. As I am witnessing many eminent attendees had joined us from the different continents of the globe. I would like to express my thankfulness for sparing your valuable time to join us during this tough pandemic situation. And I am confident enough that you all are doing great and good in a health. About brief about myself, I am Siddharth Tripathi, working as a manager in tire testing area. I have more than 10-year rich experience in automotive testing and regulation. For today's program, myself and my colleague, Mr. Abhishek Kumar, are the presenter. Mr. Abhishek Kumar will join us in between for wet grip and rolling resistance details. Before diving into a detailed agenda point, let me share some mesmerizing things about draft GSR notification 331. In the last month, May 2021, the draft GSR notification comes out. We witness many one-to-one discussions and viewpoints at the various platforms about adequate testing facility in country and interpretation of draft notification. The purpose of this program is to enhance the awareness about new notification and record the feedbacks and of stakeholders. You may post your query and viewpoint in chat box. In order to discuss various aspects of AIS 142 and draft notification, let's follow the agenda. Today, under agenda, we will discuss brief about ICAT, background of tire testing regulations, present and future, upcoming regulations, test standard AIS 142, which is today's main agenda, authorization of our testing facility, type approval and worst case criteria for type approval, and finally draft notification GSR 331. Now, this is about us, who we are. Like ICAT stands for Indian Center for Automotive Technology. We are based in Manesar, near capital of India, and we comes under NATRIP. NATRIP is a National Automotive Testing and R&D infrastructure project of Government of India. What we do homologation, design, testing, validation. We also comes under rule number 126 notified by Ministry of Road Transport of Government of India for certifying automobiles and safety components. This is the umbrella of ICAT, how we are working with the government. Till date, we received around 192 million USD from government to develop our test facilities. About background, Tyre is listed as a critical safety component under CMVR rule number 124, and Tyre certification is mandatory since 2006 for OEM homologation as per rule number 95 of CMVR. Later on, Ministry of Commerce and Industry of Government of India has notified quality orders on pneumatic tires and tube for automotive vehicles in 2009. You can see there is a three notifications mentioned on screen. I'm talking about the same. These quality orders, these detail about definitions, like dealers, manufacturers, these are well defined in this quality manual, and how we are going to certify our tire under ISI marking. So in conclusion, at present in India, ISI certification is mandatory for all category of automotive tires, means two-wheeler, passenger car tires, light trucks, and heavy commercial tires. Moving to next screen, about AIS 142. This standard was finalized in 2019, and I was lucky enough, I got an opportunity to work closely on formulation of AIS 142 regulation with various stakeholders. In this standard, we are covering three category of tires, that is C1, C2, C3. I will discuss definition of C1, C2, C3 in the next screen. This standard does not apply on two-wheeler tires. And in AIS 142, there is three test requirements to qualify the tire under this regulation. One is rolling sound emission test, rolling resistance test, and wet grip test. And also I have mentioned the tires which are not covered under this regulation. Also, I would like to highlight here, AIS 142 is also base standard for testing, which will use for tire star labeling program, which is upcoming regulation in India. And as per our awareness, it is going to be notified in voluntary phase next 1 or 2 months. So all testing for star labeling regulation in India, which will be governed by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, will be followed by AIS 142. So this AIS 142 standard testing is different thing, and star labeling program is different. Both are different things, and governed by this will be taken care by the different authorities. Now, moving to next screen, tire classes. Just for information, like C1, we call it passenger car tires, and they confirms whole requirement of IS 15633, or we can say ECR 30. C2 tires, single formation tires, which confirms IS 15636, but load index should be 121 less, and speed category should be more than N symbols, and should be marked with LT or C. Moving to C3 category tire, so single formation tire conforming to standard 15636, the tire should be load index marked more than 122, and tire shall not mark with the LT or C. In second case, load index could be less than 121 and speed category less than or equal to M, and there should not be LT or C marking on the tire sidewall, so tire will fall in C3 category. Moving to next screen, this is the type approval procedure, and this is clearly mentioned in AIS 142. And also I would like to highlight here, in AIS 142, there is a worst case criteria for type approval. This kind of provision is given. As per my awareness, in ECR 117, as this standard is quite aligned with ECR 117, there is no worst case criteria for type approval. And for defining worst case criteria, if tire fall in same range, so what parameter mandatory should be common if we are going to define worst case criteria? Detail is already mentioned in AIS 142. Just I am capturing brief points like manufacturer, category of use, and structure. This should not be changed. then you can apply worst case criteria. Now, as I am presenting for indoor testing facility, so rolling resistance is one of the most important test for this standard. So there is a 4 kind of method for evaluation of rolling resistance from the tire. We have torque method test facility to measure rolling resistance. We have 2 separate machines to measure whole range of tire CRR value. One is for C1, C2, and second one is for C3 category. So these 2 facilities we are running since last 2 years. Now moving to next slide, just for I am depicting here what is exactly how we can define worst case criteria if load index is same for the any tire. If tire is standard and reinforced but load index is same, so a standard tire will give worst RRC value. So to qualify worst case criteria, you have to submit a standard tire if both tire have same load index. Same for run flat and standard tire. If tire is run flat and standard, run flat are standard, then you have to give run flat tire which have same load index. Details already mentioned in AIS 142. Moving to next screen. In AIS 142, there is a 3 stages of RRC values in order to qualify the test. One is stage 1. In that, there is one point I will like to highlight. In AIS 142, we are covering bias and radial both. While in other standard, international standard, bias is not covered because in India we have still good contribution or portion of tire who are still biased. So we are also addressing biased tire, and also we have 12 inches tire. So 12-inch tire is also got taken care in this standard. Moving to next screen. This is our indoor testing facility authorization or accreditation. Our RR test facility is NABL. We can say this is ISO IC 17025 approved, and also our C1, C2 and C3 test facility are aligned with European reference lab, and we are glad to share with you we got very good correlation factor, that is 0.99, which is very close to reference laboratory results. So this is a big achievement for us. Moving to next screen. This is Annex F. Sorry. Annex F. Why I'm sharing this screen here? Because whenever any manufacturer is applying for AIS 142 certification, you have to fulfill or give the detail in this format, which is given in AIS 142. So this is just for information, although sorry it's not too much visible, but it's given in Annexure F of AIS 142. Moving to next screen. Sorry. So now we will talk about the draft notification which was published in May 2021. As much I remember, this was sorry, just I'm troubling with my screen. So this draft GSR was published in May 2021, and it says the tire designs falling under class C1, C2 and C3 as notified in AIS 142 shall meet the requirement of C test which I earlier mentioned as specified stage 2. So we are not going for stage 1, we are directly moving to stage 2, and any kind of comment on this regulation or draft notification, Ministry of Road Transport has already asked the comment of respective stakeholders. In case there is any big issue related to implementation or regulation, so this will be implemented after 6 months of this draft notification publication date. So I would like to share the timelines what is proposed by the government for new tire design. It would be applicable from October 2021, and for existing tire designs it would be applicable from 1st October 2022. Regarding new design of tire, we received many feedbacks from industry and as well as from technical expert. In our view, one of the most suited definition can be, although ministry has already asked the suitable definition from the stakeholders like test agencies, tire associations, technical expert. In our view, it could be like any tire which is produced after October 21 and eligible for BIS certification can be treated as a new design. Although the definition of new tire design is debatable and feedback are invited by the regulatory or notifying authority. So if from your side you have your any views on new tire design, so you can post on chat box. We will see, and if there is any further clarification required, we will revert on that. So thank you. This is from my side. Now over to Mr. Abhishek Kumar for wet grip and rolling sound emissions detail. Thank you.
Hello. Is it visible? Thank you, Siddharth, for briefing draft GSR 331 and AIS 142. Good morning, good afternoon, as per your choice, depending upon from where you are listening or attending this session. I welcome industry people from OEM and tire industry. Some of you are already doing these tests at your end. I also welcome others who are not very thorough with tire approvals in relation to RR, wet grip, and rolling sound emissions. What Siddharth talked about is rolling resistance, which is basically an indoor test in a very controlled condition. I'm going to talk about wet grip index and rolling sound emission, which is done in open air conditions with environment throwing challenges on us like very high temperature or low temperature, rain, cloudy, or clear weather. So it is altogether a very different game from an indoor test. However, academia, scientists, or professionals, they are trying to bring in future methods which can be done indoor for wet grip as well as rolling sound emission. Also, we have typical challenges in India, which are bias tires as well as 12-inch tire, which is a very small tire size. So let's move on to the presentation. We will talk about some brief background, why this standard, and some tire classification, wet grip testing and its requirements, rolling sound emission testing and its requirements. Okay, so if you see, major concern from the tire industry for life on Earth are global warming, road accidents, and noise pollution. Let me brief on this in detail, rather in detail. Tire, mainly because of their rolling resistance, account for 20 to 30% of fuel consumption of vehicles. Therefore, a reduction in rolling resistance of tires could contribute significantly to energy efficiency of road transport and thus reduction in emissions and achieving our global warming temperature targets. However, tire are characterized by a number of parameters which are interrelated. Improving one parameter such as rolling resistance, which Siddharth talked about, may have adverse impact on other parameters such as wet grip or rolling sound emission and many other parameters. In 2009, European Parliament and Council adopted a tire labeling regulation to promote sustainable mobility in European Union. The regulation entered into force on 1st November 2012 and it aimed to increase safety as well as economic and environmental efficiency of road transport, promoting fuel efficient and safe tires with low external rolling noise. Now, this tire labeling provides a harmonized information about fuel efficiency, wet grip, and external rolling noise. And these labeling covers C1 tires, which is basically passenger car tires, your C2 tires, which are light truck tires, and C3 tires, which are heavy truck tires, heavy duty vehicles. Additionally, retreaded tires or worn out tires will also be covered under these regulations in Europe. Now this tire labeling, which will be implemented in India also, is very closely related to tire approvals regarding in regard to these parameters, and they are designed to remove the worst tire from the market in terms of these parameters. A set of minimum requirement for RR, wet grip, and external noise, rolling noise, are the criteria for these things. Now central government, maybe in future, they might enforce purchase of highest fuel efficiency class tires in their tenders, service contracts. Okay, so this is a very brief why this standard AS 142, which is adaptation from revision 4 of ECR 117. Now these major concern: global warming, which I already talked about; road accident. This is, we have a decade of safety in 2000, from 2000 to 2010 to 2020. Again, we have global targets of reduction in road accident. Then noise pollution, of course, it's for our health. Now we will discuss these in detail. Rolling resistance, which is directly linked to fuel economy. Siddharth talked about this. And if you see transportation in this pie chart, transportation is contributing to 29% of fuel consumption, and rolling resistance can play an important part in reducing these things, and hence global warming. Wet grip, it is very much related to road safety. There was a 2011 to 2020 decade of road safety. Again, in August 2020, there was a resolution passed with a improving global road safety as a road safety 2021 to 2030, with target of 50% of road traffic deaths and injury reduction by 2030. And on left side, you can see wet pavement are one of the criteria which is very much affect the road safety. This is a US data. Unfortunately, we don't have much data in India. Then rolling sound emission, which is the third part of this standard. So traffic noise, as you are all aware, traffic noise is a nuance. It affects our mental as well as physical health, from blood pressure, sleep disturbances, behavior, mental immune system, aggression, etc. Now this sound emission comes from engine as well as tire, tailpipe emission. So we here in this standard are targeting tire road noise. Okay, so for improving all these things, there were labelings. US adopted only UTQGS ratings, which you can see on the right side, tread wear traction temperature, which is written on most of the tires. Now Europe as well as India in future will have labels like this, which will cover rolling resistance, wet grip, and rolling sound emission. And this is all for consumer awareness, so that they purchase with an informed choice. As we talked about, these parameters are very much interlinked. Improving rolling resistance may affect wet grip. So tire industry is moving, or you from tire industry are doing your bit to bring tires which have reduced rolling resistance and improve wet braking. So all these parameters have to live together and have a sound sleep, like you can see on this pillow. Okay, tire classification. Broad tire classification has been told by Siddharth. So C1, C2, C3, and their respective European standard as well as Indian standards I have mentioned here. Now these are C3 tires are divided further into two more families, which are wide family and narrow family, depending upon their section width, which is 285 as a demarcation line, 285 mm. Now wet grip testing, we will talk about what facilities and how we are doing it. So this is the aerial overview of our ICAT track at Center 2 Manesar. We have ABS track. On the left of ABS track, we have this track meant for ABS testing, wet grip testing. So track requirements, there is a very slight difference for C1 and C2, C3 tires track requirement, which is related to British pendulum number, 42 to 60 for C1, and for C2, C3 tire 40 to 60. Or if we are measuring with the trailer method, which is PBFC, peak braking force coefficient. So for that it is 0.7 plus minus 0.1. And others criteria are a gradient, maximum chipping size, and texture depth. So I have mentioned all these. These are the track requirements on which wet grip testing is to be performed. So here we have standard reference test tires. Unlike rolling resistance, where the tire is put to test directly on the machine and some interlab correlations. Here we have a standard reference test tire. The candidate tire from companies are to be checked against standard reference test tires. So there are 4 types of standard reference test tires: 14-inch, 16-inch. I'm sorry, there is a 16-inch SRTT for C1 tire is missing from here. So we have 14-inch, which is used currently, although it is not under production now. It was used for track certification. Then we have 16-inch tire, which unfortunately is not mentioned here. It is used for wet grip testing of C1 tire. Then we have 16C. It is for C2 tires. And then we have 19.5. It is for narrow family of C3 tires, and 22.5-inch tire, which is for wider family of C3 tires. These tires are kept in controlled conditions as mentioned in standard. And now the sequence for testing these tires is like first SRTT to be tested, its performance to be checked, then we check performance for candidate tire, and then again come back to SRTT, and in between we can do 3 tires, maximum 3 tires, and depending upon those we have different formulas, weightage formulas to calculate wet grip index. Other things which are important for wet grip testing are tire conditioning, track conditioning, tire burnishing, and finally testing and report. Tire conditioning. Tire has to be kept for 2 hours on yes, it is 2 hours adjacent to the test track, such as it is stabilized at the ambient temperature of the test track area. This is a must requirement, although it has been found out that it is still a very narrow approach for conditioning. Minimum of 2 hours. So it is good to have tire conditioning done for maybe more than 2 hours. So this is tire conditioning for both for wet grip testing in both method, trailer and vehicle method, which I will talk about in subsequent slides. Track conditioning. So vehicle method has a different way of track conditioning, as well as for trailer method there is a separate methodology for track conditioning. So for vehicle method, it has to be watered half an hour prior to testing. If it is not done, you may expect a huge variation in test results. So this is a very important aspect of testing. Additionally, maintaining the water film thickness, which is 0.1 mm plus minus 0.5 mm. from the peak of pavement. And then ultimately it has to be conditioned with a tire which is not meant for testing at a speed of 90 km per hour. This is for vehicle method C1 tire. For C2 tire in vehicle method, it is done with at a speed of 50 km per hour. Now trailer method, it has again different speeds. For C1 tire, it is 65 plus minus 2 km per hour, and for C2 C3 tire, it is 50 km per hour with the tire not involved in testing. So you have to change the tire on the vehicle, on the trailer after doing this track conditioning, and get back to testing within a given time frame. Okay, so there are two methods of measuring wet grip index. One is trailer and one is vehicle method. As you can see, this is a trailer and there is a vehicle. So 2 axle vehicle is required. We cannot use 3 axle vehicle or more. And the concept of two is different. For trailer, it is PVFC as a output. You can see it is ratio of braking force, maximum braking force to the vertical load. And in case of vehicle method, it is deceleration method. So you brake vehicle from 60 to 20 in case of C3 or C2 tires, and 80 to 20 in case of C1 tires. So you have two methods to perform wet grip index testing as of now in Europe as well as in India. So this trailer method is peak braking coefficient measurement method. You lock one of the test position tire. There is a one tire on trailer as test position. Here, if you look at this picture, it is on the left side of the trailer. So this tire is braked while the whole system keeps on moving at a certain speed. Here, 65 km per hour with some tolerances, and we record continuous data of load and traction, and with as per standard, this graph is generated or this data is generated, and with some averaging techniques, we get to know about this peak mu value. So this peak mu for reference tire and candidate tire, the ratio of these two is basically wet grip index with some temperature corrections for C1 tires, not for C2 C3 tires. Is the same I have already talked about. Vehicle method, in this you measure average deceleration, a distance covered by vehicle from a certain speed to certain speed, 80 to 20 in this case, and measuring average deceleration, dividing it by G, and you get a brake force coefficient, and ratio of these is wet grip index. These, if you look at these method, they look simple, but when you are going to test, or we are going to test from 12-inch tire to 22.5-inch tire, or maybe more in the future, there are many challenges which are thrown at us. As it is said, devil is in the details. So there is a bridge method also for vehicle method of wet grip testing, in which if a vehicle is not suitable in a sense that is two tires which are to be tested with SRTT and candidate, they are of very different sizes. Suppose a 12-inch tire is the candidate tire, and you have SRTT which is 16-inch. So it is very difficult to test with a vehicle method. It is usually tested with trailer method. So in vehicle method, you have to use a control vehicle and a control tire to conduct this test, which is a bridge method. Unfortunately, recently this test is under scrutiny and question, because this induces a lot of variation in test results. So it is in the latest developments in European Union. There is this group WG21. They state that it should be avoided, and extreme tire sizes are to be tested on trailer. This is the some calculation of using trailer method and vehicle method. So in trailer method it is mu is force by your load, and you get the value of PBC. And similarly BFC, braking force coefficient, this is by your vehicle method. So it is simple, nothing to talk about on this. So this is for C1 tire and for the C2 C3 tire. Important difference here is for C1 tire there is a temperature correction at present in both cases, but in C2 C3 tire there is no temperature correction. Additionally, I forgot to mention few other points. Tires are topology of tires is very much varying from M+S tire to snow tire, all weather tire, severe snow tire, professional tire of yes. So all these bias ply tire, all these things, they have a different set of their performance under these test conditions. So some studies are going on how to minimize these variation and get a value which is uniform throughout different testing agencies or partners where tests are conducted. So my presentation is more on wet grip index because rolling sound emission is not that critical. So here in this slide, there is a concern of reproducibility. This has been taken from ETRT report 2019 publication from TC31 and WG12 group. As per their statement, when it was wet grip index was first developed as a trailer and vehicle test method, there was a good repeatability, but under same test conditions. However, with time and different topology of tire, this has changed, and reproducibility of wet grip index has not been achieved as wanted. So in other words, it is when different set of testing conditions within allowed range. For example, right now it is 5 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius. So there is a wide range of testing conditions. Similarly, for track also there is a wide range of track certification from 0.6 PVC to 0.8 PVC value. As well as if you do with the British pendulum tester, there is from 40 to 60. So there is a huge variation in the the parameters which influence index value. So these all bring issue of reproducibility in the test results. For your reference, I have mentioned this report from 2016, and there is a 2019 report also available on internet. So what was found? This is some additional information I'm sharing with you. The main source of variability of test method are listed here. These are methodology, trailer and vehicle. They give different test results. Then conditioning of tire is also a major concern. Wet track, track friction property and temperature is also a variable, and tire topology and corresponding correction equation is also a concern. Right now there is only one formula for all correction, all type of tires. Here they have given this example. There is a summer tire, all season tire, and there is a 3PM SF tire also, and winter tire. So they all are used in different condition in different parts of the world. So each tire behave differently, or they are designed to behave differently under different test conditions. So there are equations, there need to be equation found out by doing exhaustive and extensive testing to bring all these under same frame and similar results. Okay, so this was all about rolling wet grip index. This is rolling sound emission. Rolling sound emission is not very different from pass by noise test, which vehicle vehicle manufacturer perform. So so this is the track for rolling sound emission test, which is same as ISO 10844 2014 requirement. This is required by AIS 142 as well as 117. Here, track is a source of it was a source of variation. Now the track approval have become much more stringent. We have certain conditions which are to be met for track. These are slopes, gradient and crossfall, irregularities, longitudinal and transverse, texture and absorption. And while laying track, grading curve is of utmost importance, which is listed here in the last. So once you have this track available already in place and approved, you can perform rolling sound emission test. There are certain requirements which I will list. Reference speed. Reference speed. All tires are measured for rolling sound emission with respect to the reference speed. For C1 and C2 tire, it is 80 km per hour. For C3 tire, it is 70 km per hour. Excuse me. Okay, so 80 km per hour. How do we arrive at this speed, this value? Can I have a pointer device or some writing device? Okay, so anyway, 80 km hour is the reference speed for C1 tire. It has to be tested for 8 readings, equally distributed between 70 to 90. So at 4 different speeds from 70 to 80 and at 4 different speeds from 80 to 90. And how do we do it? Just before reaching -10 from AA line, we have to put the vehicle in neutral condition and engine off, and we measure the maximum value obtained at the 2 microphone located at a 7.5 meter from center and at 1.2 meter height. We measure the value. So we get 8 set of readings, and we draw a regression line, and from that regression line equation, we get to know what noise emission, rolling sound emission value is at reference speed of 80 km per hour. Similarly, for 70 is for C3 tire, which we do with trucks and other vehicles. So, as Siddharth explained about GSR, it talks about stage 2. I directly present here stage 2 limit for C1 tire. So since tire sound emission majorly depends upon the section width of the tire, so classification or limit gradation depends upon the nominal section width of the tire. So here we have from 70 to 74. So these are the current limit which one has to meet against AIS 142 or labeling standard. When we look for a C2 tire, it is a bit higher because a lot of improvement is required, or the C2 tire are much wider, and the more focus was on load carrying capacity. But now this also has to be tamed. So now these are 75 to 78 in stage 1 and For stage 2, it is 73 to 75 or 72 to 74. So there are two different limits for traction tire or a normal tire. For C3 tire, it is for traction tire it is 75 to 77 and 73 to 75. Here in India, we don't. I don't think, at least for market, we have a severe snow tire, except for military use or somewhere else. For wet grip index, these are the limits: 1.1 for normal tire, C1 category, and for snow tire, it is as well same, with the certain conditions like speed symbol R and above, including H, has to meet greater than 1 wet grip index value, and similarly for snow tire it is 0.9. So here, which I didn't mention, there is one thing. There is always a family of tire, and each family has a, from number of tires in that family, and for each testing there is a different criteria. For RR it is different, for noise it is different, for wet grip it is different. If I talk about wet grip, the narrower the tire, the lower the wet grip. So as per worst case condition, the tire has to be submitted to the agency for testing, and it has to meet 10% higher than the recommended limit value. So here it is 1.1, so it has to meet 1.21 something value if the whole family has to pass the criteria. Otherwise, one has to submit opposing criteria tires from the same family. So this is a quite challenging task for tire manufacturer. For this is for C2 tires. So these are wet grip index values. Similarly, 10% higher it has to achieve in order to in order that the whole family passes the criteria. So traction tires it is 0.85, and for other or normal tire it is 0.95. Then for C3 tire it is 0.65. Quite right now it is a quite low value. Okay, so these are the limits. Additionally, the wet grip index limits are going to increase in future. Some of the update from Europe are, for example, C1 tire, here C1 tire, it will be for stage 4 it will be around 1.4. So it is an uphill task for everyone, and I hope we will perform tests for you, and you will produce good tires with respect to RR, wet grip, and rolling noise. I close my presentation here. Thank you for having patience and having me here.